Jon Gosselin was shocked by how lucky he was. After being blessed with twins and then sextuplets, the fame came quickly and loud. When it began, the goal was to have a big, happy family, but it quickly turned into something else. After a public and messy split from his ex-wife, Jon's relationships have been very rough. His life has not been quiet at all. Right now everyone is talking about Jon Gosselin all of a sudden. Will he finally find peace, or is this the end of his life? Let's make it all public. His early life and rise to fame. Jon Gosselin was just a guy from Wyoming, Pennsylvania, before he became famous, got caught on TV, and caused a lot of trouble in public. Family life was pretty normal for him. His mom, Pamela, and dad, who died in 2005, raised him. Jon didn't seem to rush to fame after high school. In the hot Pennsylvania sun, he put up solar panels, worked long shifts at restaurants in the area, and even prepared food at TGI Fridays in Lancaster, giving his small wages to charity. It was easy, quiet, and not at all like reality TV. Jon would go from flipping burgers to freaking out on national TV in just a few short years, which made everyone talk about him. In the fall of 1997, it all began at a work picnic. Most people will forget this day, but Jon Gosselin will not. It was there that he met Kate Kreider. She wasn't afraid to say what she thought and was focused. Jon, who is more shy and quiet, was taken off guard but quickly became interested. They got married in 1999. Carrara and me, twins, came soon after. That would be enough for many, but Kate wasn't ready to give up. Jon wasn't sure if he wanted to have more children, but Kate, who is always determined, went ahead. They didn't just get one more child either. They had 6 babies on May 10, 2004. Their world blew up overnight. There are 8 kids, diapers, bottles, and chaos everywhere. People looked at each other in the grocery store aisles. As they left the parking lots, whispers followed them. A whisper that starts out small but quickly spreads. This family looked like it came straight out of a tale. But there was more and more stress inside the house. It wasn't just the numbers that made people notice. They saw them because they felt too big, too wild, and too close to the edge to not notice. Not long after, their story was all over the news. People got attention not because they wanted it, but because their life was so interesting. The Gosselin family wasn't just busy. It pulled you in. Local news stations were full. Every move they made was caught on camera, and soon Discovery Health showed up. Surviving Sextuplets and Twins aired a year after the sextuplets were born, giving fans an honest look at a life that most people couldn't imagine. The crowd was hooked. There were a lot of people who watched the show, and it got even more attention a year later. It didn't take long for TLC to see the potential and make their chaos a weekly event. But it wasn't until April 2007, when they got their own show called Jon and Kate Plus 8, that they became very famous. It became one of the most popular shows on TLC. At its peak, 9.8 million people watched the season 5 opening, more than any other show that night. The US couldn't get enough. They were more than just watching, they were interested. People all over the world knew the Gosselins. You could see them in magazines and on morning shows. They even got their story published with Beth Carson's help. Jon and Kate wrote a book called Multiple Blessings, Surviving to Thriving with Twins and Sextuplets. It went straight to the top of the New York Times bestseller list. It looked like everything had worked out on paper. But behind the scenes, cracks were getting bigger while everyone watched in awe. As the show got bigger and the cameras got closer, the stress level rose. No one saw how quickly everything would fall apart coming. So what went wrong with the smiles and matched clothes? And how did it turn into one of the most memorable disasters in reality TV history? Let us look. The messy breakup story from Kate Kreider that Jon Gosselin wrote. Everyone was shocked when the news came out on the June 22, 2009 episode of Jon and Kate Plus 8. After being together for almost 10 years, Jon and Kate Gosselin were splitting up, and the divorce process had started. As soon as the public blow hit, Jon was apparently looking for a new apartment on Manhattan's Upper West Side. He even toured units at the Trump Place, which is owned by Donald Trump. It was 10 years ago today that Jon Gosselin said he never wanted his marriage to end in public. In a last-ditch effort to slow down the divorce, he asked the court to delay the proceedings for 90 days, thinking that this would give them time to think about things again. In a rare moment of public sadness, he said, "I'm sorry for how I've behaved since Kate and I broke up. It was bad of me to hang out with other women in public so soon," she said. At the same time, he was facing a $22,000 a month child support order, which made things even worse between them. Kate, on the other hand, made it clear that this wasn't about going out in public. From her end, the harm was already done. In her own statement, she said that Jon's actions were the last straw that made her feel like she had to go to court to protect herself and their 8 children. It was clear that the wording was cold, formal, and determined. The newspapers roared to life in the background. The rumors spread like wildfire, and all of a sudden, Jon Gosselin's name was related to Haley Glassman, a 22-year-old whose fame went beyond the news. The doctor who did Kate's facial surgery's daughter. It was too juicy, too ironic, and just plain shocking to ignore the link. Glassman said that they didn't start dating until after the marriage ended. It didn't matter anymore though. The people had already chosen their parts. In the eyes of the court, Jon was the bad guy, but the story wasn't over yet. In the late summer of 2009, cops were called to the Wernersville, Pennsylvania, home of the Gosselins, after a heated argument about Jon's choice of babysitter. Even though no one was arrested, and no charges were brought, the sight of police outside the once perfect family home was enough to shake the public's already shaky story. The brand that looked great had broken. It was falling apart now. Jon wasn't just mad at his ex-wife either. It was the company that had made the Gosselins famous that caught his attention. He sued TLC, the network behind Jon and Kate Plus 8, saying they broke child labor laws, and said they would call production crews criminal trespassers if they tried to go back to the family home as part of his plan to buy time and salvage his divorce. 3 weeks later, the last episode of the old show aired. TLC didn't run away. Their name changed. The show came back with a new name, Kate Plus 8. Jon stopped showing up regularly, and then stopped showing up at all. People still watched the family story, but it wasn't the same show or the same family that people loved. The network picked a side. The crowd had too. Also, TLC wasn't going to let Jon Gosselin change the story without a fight. Because the network saw through his publicity stunts, they filed a countersuit, saying he breached his contract by appearing on shows that were not allowed and were not under their control. Not only were they angry, they were also suing for more than $30,000 in damages. Jay's lawyers fought back hard, saying the contract wasn't valid. They said that the name change to Kate Plus 8 had completely changed the game, and Jon hadn't even had a lawyer with him when he signed the first deal. He thought he could get back his image, his place in the spotlight, or his wife, but it was all gone. On December 18, 2009, the divorce was completed, and Jon Gosselin could no longer put it off. Kate got sole care of all 8 children, and full ownership of the family home in Wernersville. It hit Jon twice. In the same month, his lover Haley Glassman broke up with him, saying she found out he had been cheating on her again. This time it was with Kate Major, a writer for a tabloid. But the trouble didn't end with the messy split. The strain finally broke out in public on August 22, 2017. At an orthodontist's office, a fight broke out with Hannah, 13, and the cops were called. No one was arrested, but it was clear what would happen. Jon took Hannah home, and Kate was told to talk to the district attorney about their custody deal. After a few months, Jon was given full custody of Hannah. Kate's plea didn't work. It was thrown out because it didn't belong in that court. After almost a year, Jon was back in court. This time, they were fighting for Colin, who had been in a treatment center for 2 years. He seemed to be fighting for the last bits of what used to be his family. Kate didn't show up to court, so Jon was given full legal and physical control. Colin got home just in time for Christmas. After that, the ex-couples only talked to each other through lawyers. They were no longer co-parenting at all, just when it looked like things couldn't get worse. After the divorce, money troubles showed up. Official records showed that Jon said Kate took $100,000 from Colin and Hannah's trust accounts to stay alive. Kate replied that the money had been used for important things like school and living costs. People were surprised by the timing, because she had just bought a $750,000 lakefront home and was reportedly making $40,000 an episode for her dating show spin-off. Kate plus dates. Jon called her actions disgusting and said she didn't feel bad about taking their children, even though they had promised to love them. With bitter court battles, strained relationships, and a family split across states, did Kate and Jon Gosselin ever find their way back? Even for the sake of their children. And why is everyone talking about Jon again? Jon Gosselin post-divorce. After they ended their marriage for good, Jon Gosselin talked about his relationship with his ex-wife Kate in an interview that felt more like a reckoning than a recap. Jon told the truth to E! News in a way that didn't need any drama to hit you right in the gut. When I asked him about his communication with Kate, he didn't hesitate. "We don't communicate," he said straight out. "I think the last time I heard her voice in person was around 2018. There were no texts, calls, or attempts to co-parent. There was only silence that lasted for 6 years and was broken only by court filings and legal motions. The last time they were in the same room with a purpose was when they were fighting over Colin, one of their 8 children, whose life had quietly moved away from the carefully edited on-screen story of the family. Colin said that Kate had abused him emotionally and verbally, which Kate strongly denied right away. But in the end, the court sided with Jon and gave him custody, which caused yet another tabloid firestorm. For most people, losing a marriage, a home, and the chance to be with their children every day would have left permanent scars. Jon, on the other hand, seemed to be able to handle things surprisingly well. He found peace in the chaos and stayed strong when it mattered. By 2024, Jon had emerged from the chaos and entered a new chapter, one that was not marked by network cameras, but by a new relationship that felt surprisingly normal. Her name was Liz Janetta, and she was a 27-year-old mother of 3. They met at a restaurant in the Philadelphia area, which was far from the reality TV world that used to define Jay's life. People quickly thought Liz looked a lot like Kate, which neither she nor Jon thought was a good thing. But even as rumors spread, Jon seemed unfazed, maybe because he had learned the hard way how to ignore the noise and move on. She hadn't seen Jon and Kate plus 8, but she only knew what the tabloids said about him, that he was a mess who went on a lot of dates. But what she found was something different. He was warm and funny, which was not at all what she thought. Maybe living away from the news helped their relationship take off. It was more likely Jon's sincerity than anything else that made her like him. For a man whose private life had once been open to the public, he had come out of it grounded, scarred, yes, but far from broken. For Jon, Liz wasn't just a new relationship, she was proof that you could start over. That even after the messiest falling apart you can imagine, with broken custody, courtroom battles, and estrangement, you could still find something close to peace. He wasn't someone's ex-husband, or the guy who lost it all on national TV for the first time in a long time. He was just Jon. And he got there faster than anyone thought he would. After the chaos and end of his public marriage, Jon Gosselin started the slow, hard work of rebuilding his life and finding happiness again. For a while, it looked like he'd found it with Liz Janetta. Watching them walk through the streets of Philadelphia arm in arm, Jon looked very different from the man who used to be known for his tabloid meltdowns and custody hearings. They laughed about the chaos of bedtime routines and homework every night, even though he had 8 kids and Liz had 3. They get along great, Liz beamed when asked about the kids. But real life isn't always as easygoing as those early morning walks in the city. Combining 2 big families meant planning for chaos. And even Jon Gosselin, who had been through years of legal battles and emotional fallout, found it hard to keep up. Between his IT job, media appearances and ongoing court cases, and Liz's full-time job and being a parent, the dream started to fall apart. Simple things became impossible to do, and the dream slowly died. After 6 months, they broke up. They did it without anger, but with a sigh of relief. It was a good idea, but it wasn't the right time. Jon still handled the end better than most. He didn't give up or run away. Instead, he moved forward, this time more slowly, quietly, and sure of what he needed. Then Stephanie Labo came along. The two met at a friend's barbecue in 2021, when there were fireworks and lots of laughter. Over the next few years, their relationship grew stronger. Stephanie wasn't bothered by Jon's complicated past, which included his divorce, the custody battle, and the baggage of being in the tabloids. Jon found peace with her that he hadn't had in a long time. They laughed, they listened, and they made time for each other. Most importantly, they made something special that didn't need a camera crew. Jon eventually asked Stephanie to marry him at her favorite restaurant, Willow on Park in Wyoming. For once Jon Gosselin was just a man in love. He got down on one knee and asked her to marry him. She said yes right away. After years of bad press, heartbreak, and hard-won healing, Jon Gosselin had found his way back to happiness. But the vows wouldn't be the real test. Everyday things would happen after that. Jon, who had 8 adult children, and Stephanie, who had 3 of her own, weren't just moving in together. They were also trying to put together lives that had been shaped by very different pasts. Jon's kids had seen their dad fall apart and rebuild after a very public and messy divorce. The kids of Stephanie were getting ready to meet their new stepfather, whose name had been linked to a reality TV scandal. They may have wondered what this new family would mean for them. But one thing is for sure, Jon Gosselin no longer wants to be a spectacle. He wants stability. For once he's not trying to make his life look good for the cameras. Instead, he's building a life for the people around the table and trying to get back time with his family that he lost. After years in the spotlight, the most telling chapter of Jon Gosselin's story may be the one written by his children. What happened to Jon's oldest daughters, Malin and Cara? They are now 24 and live their lives away from the chaos of reality TV. Both Malin and Cara graduated from college and now work at Bank of America. However, their success hasn't led to reconciliation. Both of them have grown apart from their father, and Malin has publicly criticized how Jon handles family matters, especially when it comes to their brother Colin. The fact that Jon's oldest daughters won't say a word about Jay's situation says a lot to him. Colin, on the other hand, has always been there for Jay. When Kate put Jay in a mental health facility in 2016, Jon stepped in and took custody. Since then, Colin has been open about his problems with his mother and fiercely loyal to his father. Aside from running a small business on the side, Colin's relationship with Jon is one of the few things that has stayed the same in his life. Hannah, one of the sextuplets, also chose Jon. She has lived with him for years, even while staying close with the siblings who stayed with Kate. Now a student at the University of Miami, Hannah represents Jon's attempt to make something stable out of a broken family. Their relationship has been one of support and connection, giving Jon a rare sense of connection despite the distance. But for the other sextuplets, Alexis, Aiden, Joel and Leah, their relationship with their father is at best weak. They stayed with Kate and haven't said much about Jon. Every once in a while social media posts show siblings getting back together, but Jon is noticeably missing. These kids haven't been close to Jon, whether they want to or have to, and Jon seems painfully aware of that void. In the end, Jon's relationship with his kids is like the split that defined his public life, broken, messy, and marked by loyalty from some and silence from others. Jon Gosselin today. In a new part of his life, Jon Gosselin is putting himself first for the first time in a long time. For years, Jon was living under a microscope because of his public divorce and the chaos that followed. Now Jon is finally focusing on his health and well-being. Jon recently talked about how he used Ozempic, a diabetes drug, to help him lose 32 pounds in just 2 months. Since starting the semaglutide treatment in February 2024, he has been thrilled with the results, saying that he feels great and wishes he had started sooner. In an honest interview, at an event in West Hollywood, Jon talked about the years that led him to this point. "I regret not doing this 10 years ago," he said, knowing that the time wasn't right. "I had a lot going on emotionally," he said, referring to his messy divorce, court battles, and the stress of child support drama. He was emotionally and financially stretched thin and didn't have time to care for himself. He said it himself, "I just didn't have time for me." But now that those problems are behind him,
Jon is focused on what's most important, his own health and happiness. He says that the medicine not only helped him lose weight, but it also helped him cut down on drinking and gain control over his eating habits. He said that it helped him not drink as much, and that he could finally make healthier choices. To tone up, he's even trying out body contouring and fat melting treatments, but he's quick to point out that he has no plans to go under the knife. Liposuction. No way, he laughed. I'd never go under the knife just because I was lazy. Jon finally admits that the past wasn't easy. He says that he feels bad about how things ended, but he's not letting that define him. I'm looking forward to being a better person, Jon said, focusing on the future instead of the mistakes of the past. He's no longer living for attention or approval from the public or the media. Jon wasn't just trying to change his body. He had bigger plans. When he lost his computer job, he had more time to think about what he really wanted to do. Instead of stressing about the setback, he used the time to think about what he really wanted to do. His fiancée, Stephanie, saw his potential and suggested he follow his long-held dream of becoming a DJ full-time.